This is World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment with your host, Carl Gruber. World Awakenings is a podcast dedicated to opening your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the fact that the world's population is now, more than ever, awakening to all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening, and just how they play an all-important role in our daily life. So join Carl on this enlightening experience as he interviews metaphysical and spiritual experts to discuss, debate, and delve deeply into the hows and whys of this worldwide awakening.
All of us are looking for a life of meaning and significance. A life that makes a difference in the world. A life that truly matters. We believe this is found through the right people, platform, and purpose. We call this movement 3. It starts with giving people greater health through the power of our proactive wellness products. 3's innovative formulas deliver demonstrable results by maximizing bioavailability and cellular absorption, ensuring people everywhere can enjoy the nutrition they need to operate at their best. Building on our foundation of people-focused products, we provide a platform for unparalleled entrepreneurship and personal growth. 3 is there beside you every step of your journey towards building a business and a better life. Finally, we know that a sense of real purpose, the kind that moves hearts, minds, and mountains, comes through serving and elevating others. This philosophy is reflected in our caring community, which bring hope and life-saving help to people around the world. It's time to redefine what's possible and activate your full potential. It's time to live a life of purpose. It's time for 3.
Hey, thank you for joining us here on World Awakenings, a fast track to enlightenment. I'm your show host, Carl Gruber. Now, this is a show where we have the world's top experts, teachers, and leaders in all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening. The show that allows you to dive deep into and explore things like mediumship, channeling, numerology, energy healing, non-dualistic spiritual teachings, and ancient wisdom teachings and practices. We bring it all into the light of understanding and out of the shadows of ignorance, right here on World Awakenings. Now, let's meet our guest. Our show's special guest is June Edward, who has been a psychic since childhood. She didn't realize she was also a medium until later in life. And June had a near-death experience when she was 27 years old and came back to this side by choice. She offers first-hand experience that life after life does exist. I'm glad to hear that, and we're going to talk about that. June sold out group readings of insights to the best path for your life and helped to reveal what the universe has in store. June's special gifts include working directly with the angels, guides, and departed souls, and allow her to work as a strong and accurate relationship mastery expert and psychic medium. And by the way, she's also author of 4 books, including All's Fair in Love and Karma, 5 Steps to Relationship Mastery. We will be chatting about that. So, welcome, June, to World Awakenings. I'm glad we made it.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, what you do is really, really interesting. You know, I've had a number of mediums on here, and I actually become friends with a lady who was originally known as the Pittsburgh medium, 𝐂𝐿 Collins, and I see you were originally known as a Massachusetts medium. Do you still go by that moniker, or that was just something in the past?
Well, when I lived in Massachusetts, I did, but now I've moved to Florida, and I've taken on a lot more responsibilities and things that I'm doing, so basically just go by my name, but you can call me whatever you'd like.
I think June's a pretty cool name, so we'll do that. So
Thank you. My mother thought so too. She ran out of names.
God bless our parents. So I understand that you had psychic ability from the time you were a child, but you didn't realize you had mediumship abilities until you were an adult. Why did it take so long for you to realize this? And were you reluctant to embrace it?
Well, it's interesting. Most children, everyone has psychic ability. Let me start with that. Everyone has psychic ability and mediumship ability if they choose to investigate it and follow it and enhance it. And every child has a lot of ability when they're born, some more than others. And we don't know as children what it is or what it isn't until the adults start telling us, there's nobody really there. Don't be talking to the wind,
Right.
And my youngest memory is probably about the age of 3. And I remember hearing my name being called. I got out of bed and I went into my parents' bedroom and looked, and they were fast asleep. So I'm like, that's weird. So I go back to bed and I'm lying in bed and I'm looking around the room, and then I start seeing faces.
Mm.
And then I get scared. So I pulled the blankets up over my head, and I kind of closed my eyes, but the sun was starting to come up. And when the sun starts to come up, I started to see the shadows, even though the sheet was like pulled over my face. And that was very frightening. It continued for quite a while. I'd try to ignore it as much as I could, or just get up and leave and go sleep in the living room, something like that. And as I got older, I would start telling the kids in school what was going to happen next, things like that. And you get labeled a freak very quickly. Yeah. So it was tough as a kid. I, developed a lot of nervous tics, and I would chew on my nails, and I would stutter, and, all kinds of things. And I learned how to block it the best that I could. And then when my parents split up at 10 years old, I was, the one taking care of the family and cooking and doing the dishes. And there was a woman that would come and keep me company every evening and talk to me while I did the dishes. I didn't know nobody else saw her. So I went and asked my brother one day who she was, because she never really told me who she was. And he starts laughing at me. He's like, that's the woman that died in the house. Her husband killed her. And it scared me so much that she must have felt the energy difference, and she never came back again. And then even though I was blocking it, anytime anybody died, even if I only knew them as an acquaintance and someone else in the family knew them, they would immediately come to me. And I would tell them the next morning, hey, John Smith died last night. No, he didn't. I saw him yesterday. And sure enough, they would find out that that person died. So I blocked it as much as I could. Important things would still come through. And then at 27, I died by a medical accident, and I went to the other side, and I literally came back here by choice. And you would think at that point that my abilities would really open up at that point, but they didn't, because I wasn't ready. And they know when you're ready. I still had a lot of fear around it. And then I started going on haunted vacations with my husband, and we'd go to Alcatraz and stayed on the Queen Mary and went to the Winchester House. I was just really drawn to it all. But I was the type of person always that if I couldn't see it, feel it, and touch it, it must not be real. And now I've learned that really is not the case, because, our soul is pure energy, and that's who we truly are. We're not the suit that sits in front of you. And there's a lot of things that we can't see that are there. We can't see the air that we're breathing, but it's there. We can't see the microwaves cooking our food, but clearly there's something's happening, right? And most people cannot see energy. And that's what I see, is I see energy. I see souls. I see them, I see it. Sometimes I see the energy of just the wind blowing by, believe it or not. It's weird. Wow. And when I started having trouble in my business, because I've been in business my whole life, and was going through a second divorce, I went to have some energy work, some Reiki work done, just to relax. And she suggested that I meditate. And I'm like, I can't meditate. I'm running 5 businesses right now. I can't shut my brain off enough for that. But sure enough, as soon as I started, it was like they kicked the door in from the other side, and I did not know how to turn it off. And it was 1,000 times worse than when I was a kid. I'd get up in the morning again, and there's 40 or 50 souls around my bed, because they're like gathering. It's law of attraction. We're magnets. You're always repelling or, attracting or repelling at any given time. And I was attracting all these souls because my vibration is higher. It's weird. And I attribute the fact that I can connect so quickly now with the fact that I did die when I was 27. Because when you look at quantum physics and you look at the speed of light, it's over 300 million miles a second. And my soul went into that light to go to heaven. And now it came back into my body. So it's not at that speed, but it's still at a higher vibration than most people. So that's how I attribute my ability to be able to connect to the fifth dimension, which is the lowest level of heaven, so quickly.
Wow, you've said a lot of amazing things here already. I mean, my gosh. Hey, you should write a book. Oh, you have. But I'm curious. So, what was the scenario in your near-death experience, and when you went to the other side? Are there details you can tell us of what you experienced? Or what happened to cause you to go through that?
Sure. So, I was having back surgery that I had put off for almost 5 years because I just knew if I had it done, I was going to die. And that's your soul. When you have that knowing, that's your soul. That's not your head. And it got to the point where I was told that I couldn't have any more children unless I go in and have the surgery because they'd be picking pieces out of my back. So the night before the surgery, I went in for an MRI, and they were using an iodine-based dye for that at the time. And I let them know that I thought I was allergic to it because I'd had it once before and I had a very bad reaction. And they poo-pooed it off and told me that was normal. It happens to everybody. And then as soon as they gave me the contrast dye, I immediately coded, and that was it.
Wow.
And I could see everything that was happening. I didn't see a tunnel to go up or a beam of light. I was immediately taken and to what I've been told since is the lowest level of heaven, which is the fifth dimension. And I never called it a near-death experience. I'd never heard the term, to be honest with you, and I knew that I had died. So to me, I just died. And I've been studying on a lot of different things because I'm looking to do a TED Talk on the subject. And I've realized that scientists are the ones that coined the term NDE, near-death experience. And they've done that because so far they haven't been able to quantify it. When they're able to do that, they'll change the terminology. Yeah. But I could see everything that was happening, not just below to my body, but also in the rest of the hospital. I could see the nurses and the nurses stations out there talking about it happening. I saw the crash cart come in. I saw them try to use the paddles and try to inject the IV and not getting anywhere. They tip the table up. They're slapping me in the face, telling me they can't lose me. I'm seeing it, but I'm not feeling it because I'm not there. So what I've also found out is less than 10% of the people that have a near-death experience make it to the level that I made it to, which is the fifth dimension, and have a full life review. So the full life review was literally like front seat in an IMAX theater, if you can picture that. Wow. Yeah. And everything that they're showing me was literally anyone that had been important in my life, any event that was meaningful and brought me joy, the people that I loved and cared about. Those are the events that were important in my life. And those are the things that they were showing me. And the feeling is amazing. It's just incredible. There aren't even words for what it feels like. And it's interesting. I was meditating this morning, and I always say that there's only two things you take with you, love and knowledge. And I was corrected this morning. It's not love and knowledge. It's your feelings. You're able to take your feelings with you and your knowledge. And when you access your soul, you access the knowledge of all your lifetimes, not just this lifetime. And it's all the feelings, but it feels like if you could get wrapped in a warm blanket of love in the middle of winter, that's kind of what it feels like. It's just amazing. And I was struggling really because I wanted to stay. And then I remembered my children and that I knew my purpose here, a lot of it had to do with my children, and that's what brought me my greatest joy. And that's the only reason that I came back. And at the time, I'd only had 2 of my 3 children. I had my 3rd one when I came back. But what I've come to find out is not only do we plan our life here, everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. There's no accidents, but that was an out that I had written into my life plan because I'd had a very difficult life. It was very challenging, and I could have taken it and not messed anything else up. You're not able to take your own life. That's never written into your life plan. And that's like quitting the game. And everybody has to scramble to fix everyone you're supposed to interact with in your lifetime. But some people do write in exits. that they can take, and that was one that I could have taken.
So when you said that they showed you a review of your life until then, who is they?
I never turned around at the time, to be honest with you. I don't know who they was, whether they were guides or angels. I don't know. But I was told as I was reviewing all this that it was not my time. I could stay if I want to, or I could come back. Or I could go back. It was my choice. I
Okay.
never turned around to look and see who was telling me that.
Curious, yeah. And wow. So you had the choice to come back, which you did because of your children. It is amazing how similar but yet dissimilar so many NDEs are. You know, they some of them have the tunnel. You say you went to the fifth dimension in that case and everything. I just want to go back for a second. Back when you were a child and you said you were 3 years old and you're laying there and you could see faces around you. Do these etheric beings or spirits or guides, whoever, do they come in? They're not there necessarily to scare a young child. Could they just feel your energy to
Okay, so that what I was seeing were literally ghosts. I call them lower vibrational entities.
Okay.
Those are ghosts that are stuck here for whatever reason. So you have regular ghosts that are stuck here, people that have died and not gone, their soul has not gone into the light. And you also have a lot of demonic spirits that are around. I wasn't seeing those. I was just seeing souls that are stuck here that have not gone into the light. And I work with them when it comes up in something like if I'm doing a house clearing or if I'm doing a missing person case and they have not gone into the light, I will move them into the light. But as you know, as a rule, that's not my calling. Other people have that calling, and that I've talked with, that's all they do is find ghost souls that are stuck here and move them into the light. But that's not my calling.
But at 3 years old, would they be attracted to a youngster like that because they knew that you had the energy to communicate and see them? So they kind of hover.
I believe so. It has to do, yeah. They know it has to do with your energy, and it's interesting because where one spirit is, more gather. It's like they call each other together for whatever reason, for different reasons. Sometimes I've gone into homes that the entire basement would be filled with Irish immigrants because they gather there. They're afraid to go into the light for whatever reason, and they just gather together. Or I've gone to, I've seen an attic, and it happened to be one of the stops on the Underground Railroad. And it was where they hid when they were being shuffled from place to place. And when they died, same thing. They were afraid, so they all went back there because they were safe there, and they knew they were safe there.
Wow, that is so interesting. And you said you can see energy. So, I remember seeing pictures of my mom and dad who had Carillion photography where you could actually see their energy aura, but you don't need a camera. You can see that?
I can, and I could always see it. But like I said, I tried blocking it a lot growing up, but I remember as a child seeing it. I could see, like I said, I could see the energy of the wind. Even as a child, I could see that, which is kind of crazy. But everyone's eyes, some eyes are a little different than others. Animals' eyes are different than people's eyes. Dogs don't see in color. But they can see energy, they can see souls and spirits. And a lot of times my dogs would always warn me in advance. I get so used to the energy around me that sometimes I'm not always picking up on the fact that there's a soul coming into my area because, I lived in a house that was very, very haunted. There was a portal there. And the woman and her children that had owned the house previously had not gone into the light, but would come and show up in the house very often. And she was dangerous. She tried to kill me twice.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, she's very dangerous. And my children are very perceptive as well. I know my youngest son had come over a couple of times, and as soon as he got to my door, it's, "Mom, you need to do the house again." I could feel it up in the attic.
Wow.
And that's what she would come in through.
Wow, that wasn't very nice of that lady. Jeez.
No, she didn't want me in her house. She was insisting it was still her house from the 1700s, and it's not.
Well, I do have this question, speaking of NDEs, near-death experience, does a person literally have to have an NDE to shake them from their highly controlled 3D world and life that we live in? Or can we exercise our free will to choose and not to have to go through an NDE and choose to go into the light of our own accord?
I'm not sure I'm understanding it. A near-death experience is where
can somebody, I mean, does a person, in order to be enlightened and understand the 5D realm and heaven and all that, do you have to have an NDE?
You have to die first in order to connect? No, absolutely not.
So we can use our free will to choose to go to that realm without having to die, right?
So when you get in touch with your soul, okay, which is what I teach people how to do, your soul is pure energy, and it's way too big for this body. So you have some of your soul is in this body. Some of it is the aura that people see over your body, directly over your body. And the majority of your soul is not here. It's in the fifth dimension, and it orchestrates the timing of all the events that happen in your life. So in order to connect to that part of your soul, and many people do this, they'll do a meditation and they'll get into a very deep meditation. Okay. You don't want to do that off the bat unless you're in a training or you're adept at meditation, because you become very ungrounded. And what that means is more of your soul is leaving your body. Okay. That's what it means to become ungrounded. And when you are connecting with the rest of your soul that is not in your body, you can travel anywhere. I can astral project my soul. I've flown over like 15th century England. And that's your soul doing that. It's the same thing for people that are not connected to their soul through meditation during the day. And their soul needs to get information to them, or some other soul wants to get information to them. When you go to sleep at night, your vibration actually rises. We're in the third dimension. The fifth dimension is the lowest level of heaven. That dream state is the fourth dimension. So when your energetic vibration rises and your soul is there at night, they lower their vibration and they'll meet you there, and they'll give you whatever messages or information that you need. And you'll know it's a visit and not a dream, because you'll wake up immediately, you'll remember it, and it feels real. That's a visit, not a dream.
Well, I think just personally, I think it's kind of comforting to know that with our free will, we don't have to die in order to understand and go into the light and exercise being in, I don't know, what, a Kundalini awakening or something like that.
Yeah. And, it's interesting because like I said, we chose this path, we planned these lives, and some people planned to, at some point in their life, have the universe wake them up somehow so that they could start connecting and understanding, and other people don't. And, that was what they planned to come here. And we come here for a lot of reasons. We come here for a little mini vacation, because when you're on the other side for 350 or 400 years, you don't have a body, you can't smell, you can't taste, you can't have sex. So they live vicariously through us here. That's why they say, when you want to have your family join you, set an empty place at the table and they'll come join you. They will. They'll live vicariously through you and enjoy their time with you. But we come back here for that vacation. We come back here to collect karma that we are owed from other people. We come to pay back karma that we owe to someone, and we come to learn the 5 soul lessons that I'm writing about, because we learn faster on this side than we do on the other side, and faster yet within relationship. And whether that relationship is with your parents, your children, your boss, you and I are having a relationship here now, even with this discussion. Everyone you are in touch with in your life, you are forming some kind of a relationship with. And everyone in your life is there for a reason. There are no accidents. And you're always right where you're supposed to be at any given time. So people that have all these regrets, or I shoulda, coulda, woulda, don't. You couldn't have done anything differently, I promise you. Much as you think you have free will, you really don't. The universe wants you to think you have choice. But the only choice you really have is whether or not you want to delay the lessons that you're here to learn. So for instance, the universe is going to offer you door 1, 2, and 3. You go through door 1, you get married, you have a couple of kids. You didn't learn your lesson, you get divorced. You're back in front of door 1, 2, and 3. Most people take door 1 again because they didn't learn their lesson. They're going to get married, have a couple of kids. They're going to get divorced. If they learn their lesson, they're not going to take door 1 again. They're going to take door 2 or door 3. And they may still get married and have children, but it's not going to end the way it did the first 2 times because they learned that lesson.
Yeah, and I think that the vast majority of the people in the world probably, if you told them, well, you chose your mom and dad and you chose this life and there's no accidents, and probably they go, sure, right, yeah, right. But that's why people like you are here, to help people open up and accept that. Now, we're going to talk about your book in a moment, but I do want to ask you this. I read that you were described as a trance medium. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that means that your soul and mind basically move out of the way, that it allows an entity to speak and work through you without your soul interfering. Is that correct?
It is. And the reason for that is this. I bring through a lot of souls from the other side, and some of them are very energetic and some of them are not. And I couldn't tell you why some of them are so talkative and other ones are just playing a game of charades with me. And it has nothing to do with how advanced the soul is. I thought that was the case at one point in time, and they showed me that that is not the case, because I brought through a young man who was a very old soul, extremely advanced, and he really didn't talk to me much. It was mostly done through symbolism. And he was a jokester. He was messing with me like there was no tomorrow. And, I'm telling things to his mom is what he's doing and what he's showing me. And she starts laughing and she's like, oh yeah, that's him. It was just crazy. So it has nothing to do with that. I don't understand why some of them are so talkative, but when they are that engaging, I cannot even repeat what they're telling me fast enough. So I just let them talk right through me. It's just easier.
So would this be the same as what they call channeling?
It is. It's channeling them right through me. Yeah. Some people do it a little bit differently. Mediumship is different for everyone. Some people have to get themselves in some deep meditative state in order to bring someone through. I don't do that. I see them like I see you or me, and it's very simple. Like when they come in, and then I just have to ask who I'm speaking with, and they tell me about themselves and things like that. It's different for everyone, and they come through to me either the way they looked prior to passing, so that I can try to explain that to the person to recognize them, or the way they thought they looked the best in this lifetime, because they can come through any way they want. And for instance, my mom passed at 93, and she comes through to me at the age of about 19, because that was her best life, and she's living her best life, and she was gorgeous, and that's how she comes through all the time. I have one woman that comes through, she came through her family all the time as a blonde. She was not a blonde. They hated it. She was a blonde for about a month. Her family hated it. She loved it. She comes through as a blonde all the time. And they knew it was her because I described her perfectly. I even told them what she did for a living and her first name. And they knew darn well it was her. And then I said, she's got blonde hair. And they're like, oh no, can't be her. I'm like, oh no, it's her. And then her husband laughed. He goes, son of a gun. He goes, she was blonde for about a month. I hated it. And she colored it back. She loved it.
Good for her. I like.
Yeah, exactly. She loved it. She loved it.
So with all these different beings that you speak with and speak through you, you've spoken to angels. What's it like to talk to an angel? Is it different?
Well, it's interesting because, again, I was one of these people that didn't believe any of this stuff. But once I died and came back, there was no denying any of it. And, I started taking Reiki so that I could do healing energy work. And, I'm a Reiki master in the Western, and then I'm a Ukadan level in Japanese Reiki. And I was doing Reiki on a woman, going back almost, 8 or 9 years ago now, when I was first starting out. And thank God she had her eyes closed, because as I'm doing the Reiki, the room started to fill with light. Mm-hmm. And this angel appeared at the front of the bed, and I was just so overwhelmed. I was literally on the floor in tears.
Wow.
And this angel had come through and wanted this girl to know that she was protecting her and her son, and that she had nothing to worry about, that her son was meant for wonderful things. He was going to do something great in the world, and they were being watched over. And I asked the angel her name, and she told me it was, I think it was Seraphim.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything about angels. So when I was done, I asked her, I said, did you want to know, I got a message when you were there, when I was doing your Reiki work, would you like me to tell you about it? And she's like, oh, absolutely. So I told her, and she started crying, and she said that her son was almost a year old. And this was the first time she had left him alone with anyone, because she was so afraid that he would be hurt or kidnapped, that she just couldn't leave him alone. And she was very comforted by what I told her. So she's out in the parking lot leaving, and I looked it up on my phone, and Seraphim is a choir angel. They're the closest to God.
Wow. Wow. You wrote about that in your book. I did read that section.
It was just amazing. It was just amazing. And since then, I've had Archangel Michael come through. In fact, he was in my mother's room when she was dying. And when my mom was dying, when they first put her in the room, I asked her if she saw the angel that was sitting on the shelf next to the TV. She's just kind of crunched up there. And she's like, no, I don't see it. And I came back the next morning and was met by the oncologist and told that there was nothing they could do. And I asked my mom then, I said, do you see the angel that's sitting up there? And she goes, yeah, I saw him. I've seen him since last night. And during the night, I asked him his name. And this is how they're always teaching me from the other side. And he told me his name was 𝐿. Okay. So I look up Angel 𝐿. And it was the angel that brings souls, advanced souls, to the higher realms. Well, I started doing a little more interesting digging on it. 𝐿 is Archangel Michael. Had he told me his name was Michael, I would have never looked it up, and I would have never known that's something that he does.
Wow. And your mom was an advanced soul. I like that.
And, as crazy as it is, and as much as I know that we planned this life, my parents weren't the nicest people. They were very abusive people as parents. And especially my dad. My parents died at the exact same age on the exact same day, 1 year apart.
Wow.
Yeah, you can't make that stuff up. And when I was there when my mom died, I watched her soul leave her body. And immediately she went to my father and my two sisters on the other side. I was floored, as much as I know it, to have it happen to me personally. And he thanked her for having come through and allowing his soul to learn what it needed to learn. And I'm standing there going, are you kidding me? I just couldn't believe it. I just like, wow.
What a phenomenal experience that is. Well, we mentioned your book. Let's find out more about your latest book, All's Fair in Love and Karma. Why that title, and what does the title mean?
So about four years ago, I started a program because everyone was coming to me asking about relationships. And I literally did this program guided by the angels. I put it together fairly quickly, and my results are just incredible. And it's called the Relationship Mastery Program. It's a 7-week program, and I geared it to help people that were having trouble with relationships and maybe getting divorces, because those are the people that are more motivated to invest in themselves and to do the work to make the change. And I only work with one person in the program, in the relationship, not 2 people, just one, because it only takes one person to make or break anything. For every action, there's an equal or greater reaction. So when you change, they change. When you do things differently, they have no choice but to do things differently. So what I do in the program is I teach people how energy works, how the universe works, how to speak and understand the angels, because they're constantly guiding us, and how to listen to your soul and get in touch with your soul. And when you do that, that's what raises your vibration and allows the law of attraction to come in. And then I teach them how to balance their energy so that they can maintain everything that's happening in their life. And their lives change so immensely that they end up, the other person is like, what are you doing? Why is everything changed so much? This is amazing. How did all this happen? So they are allowed to teach the other person the program. And I have people now that teach their children the program. And by going through hundreds and hundreds of people through the program, I realized everyone is going through the same 5 soul lessons. And that's what I'm teaching, is these 5 lessons. And when they learn these 5 lessons, their life just becomes amazing. The stories that I could tell you are just incredible from the students that have gone through the program.
I think you list them in the book. Isn't it the 5 love lessons?
Yeah, I call them the 5 love lessons, because for the most part, we're learning these lessons for the most part in our love relationships more than anything else. Although we have relationship with everyone, we have 3 different types of relationships in our life. We have the karmic relationship, and that's a relationship where it never really feels quite comfortable. It's like you're always looking over your shoulder, or you're waiting for that other shoe to drop. And a karmic relationship is just that. Either you owe them from a past life, or they owe you from a past life. And when one or the other learns their soul lesson, the relationship ends immediately. And it doesn't matter if you're best friends, it doesn't matter. But if you both learn the lesson, it will end amicably. If only one of you learns the lesson, it will end, but it will not be amicably. And they can last a short amount of time or a long amount of time. It really depends on how quickly you learn your lesson. And then you have your soulmate relationship. And a soulmate is a combination of a karmic relationship to teach you, but it's also there to afford you love and affection as well. And a soulmate relationship feels very comfortable. It feels like you've known this person for years. And the same thing, they can last for years or not. It depends on what you wrote into your life plan. But again, they're still there to, to teach you something, or for you to learn something. One of the two, either for you to teach or for learn. One of the persons in the relationship.
Well, I've been reading your book over the last couple of weeks, and it really is pretty interesting. It not only, well, there's a lot of practical advice, but it's mixed with a lot of, wow, that's amazing. The things that you point out.
So we have the 5 lessons, right? The first one is self-worth. And for whatever reason, it seems that a lot of people need to learn that lesson. And self-worth is not value. Value is what other people place on you. Self-worth is the understanding that you are the sum of everything, of all those importance. You are the only one of you in this entire universe. How special are you that you are the only one and they felt that they needed you here? That's pretty special. And it is not selfish, and it is not narcissistic to put yourself first. It's where everything else comes from. If you can't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of anybody else? You're not going to be here for them. That's how it works. And the same thing with being happy. No one else can make you happy but you. It's an inside job. You have to make yourself happy. And when you do that, that happiness ping pongs back and forth with everyone around you. Then you have trust and communication. And you have to be able to communicate your wants and needs to another person in your life, no matter who that is. We don't know by osmosis. You have to tell them somehow, show them, tell them, write it down, somehow get your needs across to someone. And you have to trust that there is a higher power, that there is a plan, that there aren't any accidents in this world. And everything that's happening, nothing's happening to you. It's all happening for you. It's happening for your highest and best. Because if you can't do it for yourself, the universe will step in and make things happen so that you move along your little journey.
Well,
and yeah,
go ahead.
And sex is just another form of communication as well inside the bedroom. So if you can't trust and communicate outside the bedroom, you're not going to do it inside the bedroom, right?
Absolutely. Another thing too that I read that I found interesting, you have a whole chapter on meditation. And so why is meditation that important, and why can meditation seem so hard for some people?
So I put meditation directions in every one of my book because most people don't even teach it properly. They don't teach protection, and they don't teach grounding properly. And if you are opening yourself up to the universe, you are opening yourself up to evil the same as good. And if you have a good heart, you are a target for evil. It's that simple. I've had a couple of my students get possessed, full possessions, because you get an attachment first, and then it talks you into making friends with it and accepting it, and then it takes you over. And they both ended up having to have exorcisms through the Catholic Church.
Wow.
because they were not following the program. They were drinking alcohol, which is called spirits. It's called spirits for a reason, because it lowers your vibration and it allows them to attach to you. They're all hanging around the bars looking for somebody that comes in and lowers their vibration that can take them home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because that you say that. The last couple days I've been doing a meditation, and I was following your instructions. I was listening to music over 900 megahertz. And you have a little prayer to Saint Michael for protection that you should say out loud before you do the meditation. And I was interested in the fact that you mentioned that sometimes evil hangs out and wants to enter during the meditation. I mean, is that just simply because you're clearing your mind and you're more open to receive?
It's because you're opening yourself up to the universe.
Yeah.
Bottom line, you open yourself up to the universe. You're opening yourself up to good and evil. Evil exists. It's waiting to come in the same way as the angels and your guides are waiting to come in. And if you are unprotected, you've given it an opportunity. It wants your soul. That's the whole war that's happening in this world. It's about souls, good and evil. God wants your soul. The devil wants your soul. That's what it's all about, collecting souls.
Yeah. Wow. There is so much stuff here that people need to hear, and I really appreciate it. Thank you for opening up and talking about this. I mean, so much of it, people, we go through our 3D life and we just, we watch the news and we see the wars and all that. And people don't even think about this stuff, but yet it affects their life.
Well, we pay more attention, hopefully, to the life that we're in and the people that are around us, because that's what's bringing us more joy. Most of what you're getting off your television is it's called programming for a reason. It's trying to program you. I get my information from my soul. And if you get in touch with your soul, that's where you'll get your information as well. And you'll know if someone's trying to pull the wool over your eyes, because you'll feel it. You'll be able to tell the difference. Everyone's walked into a wedding or a birthday party and felt the vibration, right? The energy in there. And then they walk into a funeral and you feel the low energy in there. When you get used to understanding how energy works and what it feels like, you can feel the energy all around you all the time. Also have to clear that energy out, because you'll be collecting that energy all over you like static and lint.
Do you have a particular process for clearing the energy chakras? What do we have? 7 chakras, I believe.
So I do. So when you're picking up negative energy everywhere, it's positively charged. So the fastest way to clear that is to neutralize it, right? Just old chemistry. So you use sea salt. Sea salt is negatively charged, so that neutralizes the positive charged ions immediately. So what I tell people to do is get some good sea salt, rub it on your body before you go in the shower or before you sit down in the tub. Don't just dump it into the tub, and you'll feel it immediately. You will feel it immediately. It's that amazing.
That's interesting about sea salt. I've been for years carrying crystals with me, and I understand that periodically you need to rinse them in warm water with sea salt to clear all the negative.
There's different ways to clear your crystals. You can also put them under a good full moon, put them out at night under a good full moon, and that will recharge your crystals as well as clearing them. I prefer to do it that way. And some crystals you cannot put in salt water, because if they're selenite, things like that, you'll just dissolve your crystals and ruin them. You'll also take the color out of certain ones like garnet and ruby, things like that. So yeah, I love my crystals, but they help to raise your vibration as well. And some absorb the negativity around you. They have lots of different purposes, the different crystals. Yeah.
So just going back to energy, and you mentioned this earlier about the law of attraction, that if your energy is not consistent, that keeps the things that you desire coming to you, because the way law of attraction is described, like energy attracts like energies. But if you're having fluctuating energy, then you're going to be an inconsistent man.
Well, and this is another one of the lessons that the soul needs to learn as well. It's money and balance. And money is energy. That's why it's called currency. And it's what we use in the 3D here to show whether or not your energy is in balance. Everything in the universe has to stay in the balance. That's why you have good and evil. That's why you have night and day. You have left and right, up and down. Everything has to stay in balance. So if you've raised your vibration through the law of attraction and you haven't balanced your energy, you're going to crash. You went high, now you're going to go low. And this is why it doesn't last for people. Once you learn how to balance your energy, the highs aren't so high, the lows aren't so low, but it's still a wonderful, beautiful ride. And you can maintain that attraction because you're at that higher vibration. So you're always attracting.
Very interesting. Going back to your bringing beings through when you're doing a workshop or something, or working one-on-one with a client, why does contacting and communicating with a loved one who has passed make such a difference in a person's life? That may seem like a dumb question, but I'm just kind of curious about it.
So after I'd been training for about a year, I was doing fairs and things like everybody else, reading cards. And the second year that I was at an event, I had been reading cards all day long. And anyone that would sit down, I'd ask if they want a reading or mediumship. And I was done for the night. I'd been reading for 8 hours. There was a woman, an older woman in her late 80s, and her daughter that was sitting off to the side. And the daughter said, "Are you done for the day?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm tired. I'm going to go home." She said, "Can you do one more? My mom's been waiting for the last couple of hours." I'm like, "Sure, bring her over." She sits down. She goes, "We heard about you last year." She goes, "So we've been waiting. We really wanted to see you, but my mom can't wait in that line." I'm like, "Not a problem." I said, "Do you want to talk to somebody or did you want a reading?" She's like, "I want to talk to my son." Okay. So the daughter said, "I'm going to sit off by the side so she has some privacy." I'm like, okay. So I said, "Would you like to talk to your dad first?" I said, "I'm pretty sure that's who's been standing next to you for the last 3 hours. She goes, "Okay." And again, most mediums don't give what they get because they have their ego in the way and they're afraid to be wrong. You've got to give what you get, and that's it. It may mean nothing to me. So I said, "Did your dad drive one of these cars that you hand crank?" And she said, "I have no idea." It's okay. I said, "Do you have some occasion to be wearing a tuxedo, a top hat, and have one of these short little canes that he carries around?" She goes, "Yep, that's my dad." Okay. I said, "I think I have your mom here as well." I said, "Because she went right over to your dad and they put their arms around each other, which tells me they were still very much in love when they passed." I said, "And she's wearing a full ball gown and a crown on her head." She's like, "Yep, that's the picture that I have over my fireplace." I'm like, "Okay." She said, "What? I want to, I said, "Your dad says he's upset because there was no one to carry on the family name. You had a son and he didn't have any children, and you had one brother and he didn't have any children." She's like, "Well, that's what it is." So she said, "I still want to talk to my son." I said, "Okay." So I had her call her son again, and I described who showed up this time. She goes, "Nope, that's my brother." I said, "Okay." So I said, "Do you want to know who killed him?" She's like, "No, we think we know. We think we got the right person. They went to prison." I said, "Okay." Yeah, I'm like already blown away with the stuff that's coming through.
Yeah.
So then her brother starts. He wants your dad to know because he's not talking directly to him. The dad's over here and he's over here. He wants, apparently they didn't get along. He wants to first thank you. He said, "You raised him, that his parents didn't raise him." She goes, "Yeah, that's right. They were socialites. So I was a little older. I took care of him." Okay. He wants his dad to know the family line did go on because he had 2 sons. And she's like, "He did?" I'm like, "Apparently." He said, "You know the girl that had one and you don't know the other one. And he's not going to tell you because he doesn't want you tracking them down." She's like, "Oh my God, oh my God. I thought that kid looked like him." I'm like, "Okay." She goes, "But I still want to talk to my son." So she called him again and he's not coming through. So there are certain reasons. Usually they think you're upset with them or they let you down. They have, you're angry with them. They don't want to come get yelled at. So that's usually a reason that they don't want to come up right away. So I asked her brother to go get him. And when I'm bringing people through like that, there's a crowd of maybe 100 people, 200 people. It really depends. And this was a big crowd, probably 500 people. And I saw him go into the crowd, grab someone by their arm and pull them up. And now I have this other person standing next to me, and he's standing there with his head down. So I described him, and then I said, "You think he committed suicide, don't you?" And she's like, yep, that's right. He committed suicide. And as soon as she said that, he popped his head up and he said, I did not commit suicide. It was an accident. And I told her that. And as soon as I said that, the sister comes running over. She said, I knew it. I knew it. She goes, the cop just kept saying it was a suicide. She goes, he was really happy. He had a new girlfriend. He was cooking dinner. He had all the lights on, the TV on. There was no note. She goes, I knew it wasn't suicide. So I asked him what happened. And he said that they had changed his medication, first of all. And his mother confirmed that, yes, he was on medication. They changed his medication. Then I said, I'm feeling something on his neck. I said, but it's not a hanging. I said, something with his head. And then he showed me. I said, oh my God, he cut his head off. And his mom was like, yep, that's what happened. And then he showed me what happened. He had been watching television and they were juggling chainsaws. And he went down to the garage, to the shed, to juggle a chainsaw, and it slipped and he severed his head.
Wow.
Yeah. And she's like, I have tried to bring him through. She goes, it's been 40 years. I wanted to talk to him. She goes, I thought I caused him to kill himself because I was so tough on him. I told him he had to get a job. He had to pay rent, blah, 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 blah. And they made amends right then and there. And, he said he would be coming through to her, and he heard her and he stopped crying. It was just unbelievable. So I asked her after, I said, it's been 40 years. How come you didn't come see somebody like me before? Clearly, this basically destroyed her life. She was this 80-something-year-old frail woman that thought she caused her son to kill himself. And she told me that she had gone to see every psychic medium she'd been able to find for the last 40 years, and no one's ever been able to bring her son through but me. And at that moment, it didn't matter what anybody had to say about me. I knew I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. If I could have helped her 40 years ago, I'm sure her life would have been much more joyful and very different.
All in divine timing.
True.
Wow, what an extraordinary story. Holy mackerel. I just want to remind the viewers and listeners we are talking to the amazing June Edward, a psychic, a medium, a channel, doing some incredible, beautiful work to help people. And boy, I would imagine when you first decided to do this professionally, your friends and family go, what is she doing? But
oh yeah, they thought I was off the deep end. I must be crazy. In fact, I spoke to my media rep from when I had all my businesses before. I spoke to her about a month ago. We connected online again, and she's, we're talking. She's like, I'm so happy to hear that you're doing so well and that this is real. She said, I thought you were crazy. I'm like, no, I'm not crazy.
Your media rep? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I know that you do workshops. People can go to your website, which is juneedward.com, right?
Yeah.
And is that the best way for people to connect? You go to your website, and if you have an email or a way.
It really is. There's an email. There's a contact me on the page. They can sign up for information. They can watch the videos that are on there. They can schedule appointments with me. They can also watch a free webinar on energy and see if that connects with anything that they want more information on. There are links to all of my books. A Night on the Other Side is a book that teaches you psychic development and mediumship. It's everything I taught in my classes when I was teaching. My autobiography is on there. There's a journal on there in regards to the destiny cards, which is numerology and astrology combined, and tells you a little bit about your birthday when you were born. And then All's Fair in Love and Karma. You can purchase that book there, as well as a link to everything. It's also available in audio format.
Well, I know you have other books, but having just almost completing reading All's Fair in Love and Karma, folks, pick it up. It's an awesome book, and you can either click her link on her website or go to Amazon. But thank you again, June. I mean, this has been amazing. You don't have a boring life, do you?
I don't. I actually love what I do. I'm more than fulfilled, and I never would know what the day is going to bring, to be honest.
Oh, well, that's great. Well, thank you for being on World Awakenings. Much appreciated.
Thank you for having me. Have a wonderful holiday.
This has been another episode of World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment with host Carl Gruber, a certified law of attraction life coach. We welcome you to tune in to each and every episode of World Awakenings as we open your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the fact that the world's population is now, more than ever, awakening to the truth of all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening, and just how much they play an all-important role in our moment-to-moment daily life. Much love and light to you, my friend, and thank you for tuning into World Awakenings.